Yo, 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 what's going on, people? It's your boy Daryl here from the Boxing Lowdown, and welcome to episode 43. We've already got the main man here getting ready to throw his hands. Mr. Controversial in the building, my father, Laurie Lyle in the building. Laurie from AFTV in the house. What is going on, man? You ready for another show?
Ready, man. Ready like Freddy. Ready here in the house, the AFTV HQ here in North London. But today we turn our attentions to boxing, which is, as everyone will know by now, is a big passion of mine. So yeah, man, I'm ready.
Let's get this show on the road, man. Straight away, we got our guys Conrad in the building. We got Harvey up in here early. Big up to both of my brothers, man. Conrad has said here, letting those hands go. You know how we do, man. He lets his hands go. Do you know what I mean? Harvey in the building, but yo, what's going on, bro? Good to have you here, man. Francisco in the building. What's happening? He's put here. Good to see you, brothers. Very interested in your Olympic breakdown. Team USA is cool. Duke got silver. Davis is in the semis. And my Mexican-American brother Torres is getting the gold on Sunday. Yeah, we're going to be talking about a bit of the Olympics as well. And listen, man, good to have you all up here in the house. Straight away, let me just say, you know how we do it, man, every single week. We got Stefan here as well. Do you know what I mean? So we've got some good guys up in here. And listen, you know how we do it, man. Click the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. For those of you that don't know, this show is being recorded, so all of the comments that come up, we'll attempt to read them all and offer our opinion on them. And shout out to everybody in the house, man. Big up to my father here. And let's get the show on the road. First of all, I just want to say, on the back of last week's show, I was very you know what I mean? You could see it in my I was pissed off last week. I was just I felt like I'd hit a wall with boxing. But you know what? I feel a lot more optimistic this week. Not that anything in particular has, happened to change my mind, but I think maybe it was just a feeling that I had at the time last week. I still have my grievances with boxing, but I mean, I'm sure everybody does. I think I looked at it with a bit more of a perspective this week. And like you said on the last show, every sport is suffering at the moment, not just boxing. Boxing does have its issues with the politics and, do you know what I mean? Some of the characters that are in the game right now, the sanctioning bodies and everything else. But, all sports are affected by COVID. And I think that was something that I'd had to take in, as you said last week. Just one of the things anyway. There's still a lot of things that I don't like, but, we're here, man. And this is why we love the sport, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. But on that, you may be interested to know, I don't know if you saw a few days ago, there was some conjecture being put out there that the Manny Pacquiao Errol Spence fight was under threat. Did you hear about that?
I didn't hear about that, no.
There was some promotions company that were going to file a lawsuit. I think they may even have done so on behalf of Conor McGregor, citing Manny Pacquiao. They said he failed to fulfill an obligation for a fight with them or something like that. So yeah, I don't know how far it's got. It probably won't affect the Errol Spence fight. But when I saw the news come out, I was thinking, here we go, another cancellation. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. Yeah. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts, because I'm not wholly convinced that Tyson Fury is going to show up, man.
For Fury Wilder 3? You don't think he's going to show up?
Well, I'm not saying here and now that he isn't, but I just smell a rat, man. Seriously, as you know, I'm extremely dubious about this whole COVID situation. There's more and more stories coming out now about how bad he looked in training. Apparently, he got knocked out on his feet, and he got decked apparently, and he got beat up. He was looking terrible in sparring, and I think the more and more I think about it, that was probably more to do with the pullout rather than anything health-wise. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, I'm not 100% convinced this man's going to show up. I think, it wouldn't surprise me if there's another pullout, an injury, a muscle tear, or, But anyway, that's just how I feel.
What do you guys in the comments think? Let us know if you think that fight will be going ahead. Just going over to the comments here, and Stefan has put a note here about Keyshawn Davis. He's put, Keyshawn Davis looks special regardless of his final result. I'm looking forward to watching him continue in the pros. Now, we've had a few people talk about
Olympic boxing. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, a few people are speaking about the Olympics, so let's talk about that. I originally put about Team GB, but I think, if anyone's been interested in any other, I know USA has obviously got some good boxers there, and it's got a storied history in the Olympics. But I wanted to touch on Team GB first, man. You know what I mean? Ben Whittaker. Shout out first of all to Big T. Do you know what I mean? Ben Whittaker's dad. He does follow the show. He does leave a comment here and there, and he does like to watch the live streams. I'm not sure if he's watching now, but first of all, just shout out to him, man, and for the achievement that Ben Whittaker did, hitting the silver medal. I thought he was brilliant. He's got a great personality. I think he's going to be very good in the pro game. Was unfortunate, you know, I mean, he just came up against a better fighter in the final, in my honest opinion. However, there's so much to learn from him. He's only 24 years old. And, you know, overall, it's been a huge success for him. I know he wasn't happy with the silver medal. And, you know, it just shows he's a winner. Do you know what I mean? He wanted to get the gold. He really set out to get that. But what did you make of that? Because, you know, I thought he did box well, but I thought he did get beat in the final.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to echo what you said there, man. He looked tremendous. He really did. So shout out to, is his name T?
Big T.
Big T, yeah, shout out Big T. I never Big T, but his son, man, is special. I would imagine that the minute these Olympics are over, he's going to get offers from all corners of the world. You know what I mean? It'll be interesting to, because I would imagine he's going to go pro. He's actually got a pro style. It's just that he's very skillful, brilliant jab, good movement. You know what I mean? Can mix it up when he wants to. I think in the final, though, that was a fight he could have won for me. I just think he needed to let his hands go a bit more. Yeah. I really do think that in terms of the boxing skill set, I feel like that was on a par with the Cuban, and it's not often you can say that. But I think the little bit of difference was experience. The Cuban knew when to let his hands go in those crucial moments, and he just edged him out. But it was by no means a performance that he can't be proud of. And he shouldn't, listen, man, I mean, okay, I know he's obviously a guy that wants to win and win badly, but listen, man, the silver medal is a big thing in amateur boxing, in Olympic boxing. That will parlay itself into something really big. And of course, he's got the skill set, he's got the personality, he's got the look. You know what I mean? I would imagine coming out of this particular Olympic team, he's probably the most marketable one. I mean, I must admit, I'm a big fan of Pat McCormack as well. I think
Pat was going to say Pat and Fraser Clark as well.
Fraser Clark too. Yeah, man. I mean, that haul they got of at least 6 medals. And we shouldn't forget Yafai, who's been brilliant.
Yafai, yep, he's in the final now.
Although I thought he got a slightly fortunate, man, in his was it his quarterfinal? He fought the Zambian guy. I thought he got edged out in that fight. But anyway, listen, man, he got the decision. It was a close fight, but I thought the Zambian really did enough to win that one. But anyway, got the
very good in the semi-final.
Yeah. But I think out of all of those guys in what was a very good team, I think if I'm a promoter and I'm looking to sign one of those guys, I'll probably be, Ben Whittaker would probably be the first one I'll be trying to get in contact with. Because like I said, everything is there, and he's only young, 24. He's still a baby in boxing terms. So he needs to turn pro, hopefully link up with the right trainer, manager, promoter. And I think sky's the limit for the young man. I'm excited by him, man.
No golds yet for Team GB. I think we've got 4 medals at the moment. 2 silver and 2 bronze, I think it is. So no golds at the moment. We do have a chance to change that, obviously, with Galal Yafai in the final. But yeah, I mean,
Lauren Price as well. She's really impressed me as well, man.
Yeah.
The Welsh girl, she looks brilliant, man. You know what I mean? She looks so assured in there, so confident. And I like her skill set, and her foot movement is brilliant as well. Which is very important, of course, for amateur boxing. You've got to have the foot movement and stuff like that. So yeah, she's got all of those skills, and she can hit as well. It'd be interesting to see what she does after the Olympics as well. I would imagine there'll be a host of people trying to sign her up also. I don't know how old she is, but she'll definitely make it in the pros. Definite, 100%. And see the same for Yafai. I'm not sure about Fraser Clark though, because previously he said he wanted to stay as an amateur. But surely
I'll want to turn pro now. Surely.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought. Yeah, even if it's quite late in it. I don't know how old he is either.
I know bad cut. That was a bad cut he got in that was it semi-final? The bad cut he got, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
bad cut, man. But yeah, I like the Irish girl as well. Kelly Harrington. Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
she was good too, man. You know what? I have to be honest. I see what Francisco's put here, but I haven't been as clued up on the Team USA and everybody. I haven't been as clued up on those guys in the Olympics, man. I haven't been haven't tuned into all of them.
I've seen Keyshawn Davis, and I've seen there was an American guy who put out an Irish guy in a really good fight that I saw. And I've seen the super heavyweight. He's in the final. I think that's a repeat of a previous match he had when he got beat in the Pan Americans. You know what I mean? So that would be a great fight. But yeah, man, the only slight problem I've got with the American teams, I think a couple of them are already professionals. I know Keith Davis had about 8 or 9 professional fights. Yeah. Now, I don't know, man. I'm old school. I always thought amateur is supposed to mean amateur. You know what I mean? Professionals taking part in the Olympic boxing doesn't sit well with me, to be honest.
Nor me.
So yeah, I mean, that's the only slight detraction from Keyshawn Davis, who's performed brilliantly, by the way. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, he's been talked of as a highly rated professional, even though he's obviously had less than 10 fights, which I think is the qualification. If you've had less than 10 professional fights, you can still. But even so, man, it doesn't sit well.
I don't agree with it. Yeah,
Duke Reagan is the other one. Yeah, he's the one who put the Irish guy out. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest though. A lot of these amateurs, so-called amateurs, they are professionals, really.
Yeah, like this guy here, Jalilov, the Uzbek who beat Fraser Clark. He was brilliant, man.
Yeah. These guys are pretty much professionals. But I still think if you've signed a professional contract and had professional fights, for you to then go back into what is predominantly in an amateur scene, I think that's a little unfair, to be honest.
Yeah.
But hey, man, they allow it, so what can we do? It's boxing. You've seen what happens in boxing. You think they just make the rules as they go along, you know what I mean? So
what do you think about the weight of the Olympics nowadays? Does it carry the same weight as it did before? Remember when like a person won an Olympic gold medal? I'm thinking all the way back to the times of like the 80s and the 90s and even before then, like back to when Ali won it. Like I just remember when you got that gold medal, you was like thrown into superstardom. Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking of Oscar De La Hoya right now when he won the Olympic gold, and his career literally catapulted from then. You've got the classes of like there's the Seoul Olympics, for example, where you had was it Roy Jones was in that Olympic Games when he was robbed in the final, and then I'm just thinking of like the class of I'm thinking of America right here now, but the class of '96 with like some of those guys in that Olympic team, Fernando Vargas, Floyd Mayweather. And Vernon Forrest was in the '92 Olympics. And even over here, like when we had Amir Khan, when he won the silver medal, the way how the country basically stopped when he was like fighting for gold. Do you think that the Olympic Games now carry the same sort of weight as it did back then in terms of like if you're going to turn professional and in terms of making you a star? Do you think it still holds the same weight? Obviously, the recent example is AJ from 2012. But what do you think?
I don't think it carries quite the same resonance, if I'm being honest, but it's still a big thing because, like you quoted AJ there, he won the gold in 2012. But again, AJ, a bit like what I'm saying with Ben Whitaker, AJ had the look, innit? He's got that kind of charm. He's got that kind of personality that will, carry over into the pro game. And he will still prove a very attractive proposition to a lot of people. And I see that in Ben Whitaker. Don't get me wrong, any one of those guys winning gold. Listen, Pat McCormack won silver, but I'm sure he'll turn professional. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of promoters and managers that will go after his signature, you know what I mean? Again, with the fight. So, yes, it does parlay itself into something a lot more meaningful when they turn professional, but it's not guaranteed. So, for example, Audley, he won super middleweight, super heavyweight at the Sydney Games 2000, but he didn't quite transcend into the pro ranks. Maybe some people will say that it's because he never lived up to the promise, because you do get guys that are better amateurs than they are pros. I can remember way back an Irish guy, Michael Carruth. he won gold medal. Forget what games it was now. It could have been the I wonder if it was the same games 92 that Oscar De La Hoya won his gold medal in Barcelona. But anyway, he won a gold medal, and he turned professional, albeit at quite a late age, but it didn't have quite the same resonance as it does for some of the other fighters. And even if you look at someone like AJ,
look at Luke Campbell.
2012, Luke Campbell won the gold. He didn't have quite that same style quality, did he? So it doesn't always carry over into the professionals, but it certainly does help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It certainly does help.
Yeah, I think that the Olympics, the boxing at the Olympics has been a bright, you know, it has been good to watch from what I've seen. Yeah, I honestly think that I'm looking forward to the final Galal fight. I think I'm looking forward to seeing him. There's some other fights as well. I mean, like Keyshawn Davis, but I think overall it's been a success for me. Olympic boxing. I was surprised about Caroline Dubois actually. She was tipped. Yeah, she was tipped to go all the way, wasn't she?
It was, and I have to say, I'm going to keep it 100 here. I saw her first bout. I didn't see following fight. I saw highlights of the one that she lost in. But I saw her first fight, and I remember thinking at the time I was slightly underwhelmed with the performance. I don't know, because she's still very young. It's her first major tournament, as it were, in terms of Olympics. Maybe the occasion got to her a little bit, but she wasn't flowing the way I'd seen her in previous fights.
No.
So she just never got into a rhythm, I don't think. And I don't know, obviously, why that is. But yeah, I was slightly disappointed that she didn't medal at least, because there was a lot of people who know more about amateur boxing than me, and they were predicting that she'd get gold. So yeah, it's a little disappointing. But listen, man, she's young. It was, like I said, it was her first gig at the Olympics. The chances are she'll be back in another 3 to 4 years' time, and she'd probably do a lot better then. So, you know what I mean? The talent's there. But, you know, as we've said before, in terms of boxing, man, it's what you do on the day that counts, isn't it? And in answer to Stefan, Andy Cruz, that's my favorite amateur boxer right now.
Yeah.
The Cuban, that guy is sensational, man. You know what I mean? His footwork, his skills, his confidence, the way he lets his hands go, he's box office, man. You know what? And it's funny with Cruz, because if he turns professional, unless he's going to start banging guys out, he'll probably be seen as another Cuban that's a good amateur that won't quite get the ratings of pro. You see what I mean? It's two different sports, really, amateur and professional boxing. You know what I mean? So, but Cruz, over 3 rounds, he looks virtually unbeatable at the moment, man. You know what I mean? And that, obviously, he'll be going up against Keyshawn Davis, who he's actually beaten before.
Yeah.
So that would be a great fight.
Conrad has put here, I'm not going to butcher the name, but thoughts on versus La Cruz. And is that the final? I think it's the semi-final, isn't it? And he's put here, he beat our German hope. That guy is legitimate good. I haven't seen him.
I haven't seen that guy. I will watch out for him.
Yeah, haven't seen it.
You have to catch up on it on iPlayer and that, isn't it? Because it's very difficult to actually catch the times when they're going to show the boxing.
Yeah, the time difference is crazy time difference. So yeah,
even when you go on iPlayer, they'll tend to obviously focus on the British guys. So there's a lot of good fighters that I've probably missed that we haven't seen yet. You know what I mean? So.
But yeah, no, the Olympics for me it's been a positive, man. I've enjoyed it, and I think I'm just that kind of guy with boxing. I'm a traditionalist, so I always love to see those at the Olympics reach the pinnacle of their game, and then when they turn over as a pro, hopefully they can enjoy some of that success as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing where some of the British guys end up. Do you know what I mean? The likes of Fraser Clark, Ben Whitakers, and so on. You know what I mean? Like what they're going to do, when they're going to turn pro. Because really, after the Olympics, it's surely that's it, isn't it? You'd want to turn over, wouldn't you?
I would have thought so. Although some guys, if they don't get the gold medal, even some of them that do win the gold medal, they will go to another Olympics and try and win another gold. So, for example, Vasyl Lomachenko is probably the greatest amateur of all times. He won 2 Olympic gold medals. Rigondeaux won 2 Olympic gold medals. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah,
and then there's countries for which they don't have a sort of high-rated professional boxing in their country. Cuba, some of the Asian countries like Uzbekistan and countries like that, they tend not to have big professional programs. So they end up staying amateur for a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that kind of ties into what I was thinking. It's always fascinating how, do you know what I mean, those particular boxing countries like the Cubans and the Ukrainians and the Russians, like the Eastern Europeans, like their actual, like the way how they perform in the Olympics every year is like second to none. Do you know what I mean? It's like they've perfected the amateur style to see them through. And is there anything that we can do to get us onto that sort of platform as an elite? I mean, I know we are elite anyway, but in terms of like getting to the top, like the Cubans and the Ukrainians as an elite boxing, you know, for the Olympics, so to speak.
Well, if you look at
any methods that we need to do, or like,
yeah, I mean, it's a case of you've got to have a proper program and invest a lot of money into it. I mean, when I say invest a lot of money into it, you look at someone like the Cubans, who, let's be honest, they're a poor country, and yet they're probably pound for pound the best in the world in terms of amateur boxing. But they've obviously got a dedicated program. So you need a dedicated program, the right coaches, and of course you've got to scout out the right talent. So, for example, in the UK, GB, if you look at, there's been a steady rate of progression. So I think in '96, I don't think we did anything. Did we even send a team to the Olympics in '96? You get to 2000, Audley's, you know, I mean, he stood out, he won the gold medal there. 2004 in Athens, Amir Khan with a silver. But then since then, they've developed the program. They've, you know, investing a lot of money in it. You've only got to look at the centre they got up at Sheffield. And then since then, you had in Beijing 2008, you had James DeGale winning gold. You had David Price won silver, amongst others. Tony Jeffries won a bronze. So I think David Price won a bronze as well, yes. And you know what I mean? And the teams were good. People like Billy Joe Saunders was in that 2018, Frankie Gavin, people like that.
Yeah.
Then to 2012, obviously we did really well. We had Luke Campbell and AJ winning. 2016, we had a good team in Rio, you know what I mean? And now again, we've done well. I think there's 6 medals they're saying they're on course for.
Yeah.
Maybe the gold with Yafai, and that represents our best return at an Olympic Games ever. So yeah, man. Shout out to the people at Team GB Boxing. You know what I mean? They've invested the money, and they've done well.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do with that. I think that's one of the criticisms of the American team, isn't it? The amateur boxing program was not taken quite as seriously as professional boxing. But I noted this time around that the Americans, I think they've got one of their top coaches is an Irish guy that used to coach on the Irish team. And if you notice, Ireland are very successful at amateur boxing, especially in Northern Ireland, where it's almost like a religion over there, their amateur boxing program. Yeah. So, yeah, man, I think that's what you got to do if you want to get the benefits, man. If you want to get those medals, man, you got to put the work in. It's like anything else, you know? So, yeah.
Let's move on to, you know, some fight action that took place last weekend and fight camp week 1. You know, the main event didn't actually happen, but there were some other bouts on there that caught a lot of interest. So I'm just going to share my screen and we'll go through that card there. I want you to let me know what you thought of it, Laurie. So just bear with me. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see.
All right. So let's just.
The night was.
yeah. Let's just run through it one by one, and then you could tell me what you thought. I'm going to be honest. I didn't see this here, Sandy Ryan. I never saw it.
I saw highlights of that, but she looked good. A lot of people are picking her to do very well in the women's game, so I'll be following her progress closely. A lot of people saying that she could be up there with the likes of Katie Taylor in terms of women's. So if she can achieve anywhere near that, then she's going to be good. She's also you probably know this already. She's the sister of what's his name, Ryan from Derby. Forget his name escapes me now. Light welterweight guy. He's a decent fighter himself. Dave Ryan. Yeah. That's his sister right there. So
Avni Yildirim and Jack Cullen. Now Jack Cullen won he won a wide decision there over Avni Yildirim. Good win for Jack Cullen. I don't think he won every round, but I mean he was in control, wasn't he? mainly.
Yeah, you know what? At one point, it was shaping up to be a good fight because Anthony Yildirim was looking quite competitive there. He was coming forward. He was landing with some good shots, good overhand rights and stuff like that. But he just didn't maintain his work. And Cullen kind of stepped up his work, right? And in the end, I thought Cullen won quite comfortably.
Yeah.
Anthony Yildirim thought he won, which, hey.
Yeah, he
But
put his hand up at the end and all, didn't he? Like,
he was well beaten in the end.
Yeah. It's a bit like when Mikey Garcia fought Spence and he put his hands up after every round.
Yeah, but at least Anthony Yildirim won some rounds. When I suspect that when Mikey was doing it, man, he was just putting his hands up as if to say, well, I've got through another round. Because that's what it seemed like to me. Because he had no business putting his hand up, man, because he was getting slapped up in every round. But I think with Anthony Yildirim, what happened was he made a decent start and he actually won a few of the middle rounds. He was pressing the action. He was throwing some good overhand rights. He was coming forward and he was looking decent. But then, you know what I mean, the steam went out of his work. Cullen grew in confidence, started to pick him off. And I thought Cullen boxed really well. And towards the end of the fight, man, it was all him really. So, yeah. But it was a good test for him, man. He'd gone up a level fighting Yildirim and he did well.
Fowler and Muller. Now, Muller was a late replacement. Fowler stopped him in 8. The main thing that I got from this, though, was the announcement afterwards. And that was Anthony Fowler against Liam Smith.
Yeah, man, that's lit. I can't wait for that fight, man. I think that's something that Fowler needs. He's having too many of these types of fights where he's sort of weight bullying guys. This fight was a bit... Listen, man, it's not Fowler's fault, you know what I mean? But he's having too many of these fights where his opponents are undersized and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not at the same level as him. So it just means that he's just beating guys up. And that's, I mean, don't get me wrong, Muller was very game. I'll give him credit, man. He actually was pushing Fowler back at times as well.
Yeah.
So I commend him for that. But at the end of the day, man, it was always going to be one winner. Fowler finished well. I like the way he stepped it up and got him out of there, stopped him. But I think the thing with Fowler is he's probably not as big a puncher as he thinks he is, if that makes sense. He likes to portray himself as this big, strong guy that can get guys out of there. But in this fight and a few others I've seen, he's actually done it by sort of his physicality, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Because he's very strong for the weight. He's very big for the weight. And he basically weight bullies guys, you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, he's got a good skills level as well, but he's probably not as good. I really don't know how good he is, to be honest.
Well, I think the fight against Liam Smith will tell us. Has he caught Smith at the right time, or is it?
He could be, you know. I think he could be, because I saw Liam Smith, who's still running with this narrative that he won that last fight against Kurbanov, and I'm saying, bro, you did not win that fight, bro. And listen, I'm a Liam Smith fan. I like watching him, but he did not win that fight, in my humble opinion, anyway. But this fight, going back to the Liam Smith, Anthony Fowler fight, that's a great fight for Liverpool. It's a local derby. 2 guys there, man, that are going to press the action, and it's going to be a great fight. And at this point, I might have to lean slightly towards Fowler if he keeps his discipline and boxes. If he tries to out-tough Liam Smith, I don't think he's going to be able to do that, because seriously, Liam Smith is one hard bastard. Trust me.
It's a great fight. I like that fight, man.
Yeah. I listen, man. I've been ringside with Liam Smith, and this is when he was really young as well. And guys hitting him square on the chin, and he would just laugh at them. He's got that little laugh smirk he does, isn't it, when he gets hit, and then he just still keeps coming forward.
Yeah.
I think the only guy who really put a dent in him was Canelo. So that shows you how good he is, man. You know what I mean? And he's not that skillful, Liam Smith, but he's hard, and he's what I call a hard-nosed professional. He knows how to go rounds. He's got a good body attack, and he's grizzled tough, and he knows what he's doing in there, man. He's a hard night's work for anyone at that weight. It's good to see him back in the ring, actually. But I think if Fowler, he's obviously the younger guy, the fresher guy. If he can develop a game plan with Shane McGuigan, who is his coach, who's a very good coach, by the way, I actually fancy Fowler to nick a points win, a close points win. I think it'll go points. And I think Fowler, on account of his very good jab and his work rate and his youth and the greater freshness that he has, I think all of that might count at the end and he'll get a narrow points win. It could be one of them where Liam Smith is throwing his arms up in the air after and claiming that he was robbed.
Yeah, bit like the last fight.
Yeah, could be.
Campbell
I watched that fight twice with Kabanov, and I had Kabanov winning. Sorry, I just thought he was threw the better punches, but hey, man, you know what I mean? It is what it is.
Campbell Hatton against Laskowski. Campbell Hatton winning every round en route to a points decision win. It was only 4 rounds, obviously. I'm still seeing a lot of criticism for Campbell Hatton. Whether you believe it's fair or unfair, it just comes with a name at the end of the day. That's just it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? As harsh as it might seem, like you have to expect that a little bit. If he could be half as good as his dad, then listen, it's a great career. But at the moment, it's not even halfway there.
Half as good as his dad. That's the thing. I think people are expecting too much. I mean, listen, man. But it goes with the territory because he's getting the big build-up because of his dad. So some people say you got to take the rough with the smooth, man. You know what I mean? So listen, I thought he did okay. He slowed down a little bit in this fight. He wasn't trying to get the guy out of there with a barrage of punches like he was in his previous fight. So he did show a few improvements in this fight. And the guy that he was fighting was trying, you know what I mean? It wasn't like the guy just came in there and laid down. So I think you got to give Campbell Hatton some credit on that one, man. I don't think it was as bad as what some people are making out. But then, like I said, him having his dad's name, it's going to be a double-edged sword. One, he's going to get the everyone looking at him. He's going to get the attention and the spotlight. But the other side of that is if you don't perform to what certain people's expectations of you are, then you're going to be labeled, oh, you know what I mean, you're not that good. You're only getting shine because of your dad, you know what I mean? So that's something he's going to have to live with in his career, I guess.
Yeah, he's got people around him that will be able to guide him through those type of times. All I'd say to him is just stay focused on your craft, man. Don't listen to those on social media. You know what I mean? You just have to just crack on with it.
Absolutely. You know? Absolutely. Yeah.
Great fight here, man. Tommy McCarthy versus Chris Billam-Smith. Now, are you in the category of those that feel that this was a robbery? Do you feel it was a close fight? Great fight. But who did you have winning it, first of all? And what did you think of it?
Well, first I thought it was a great fight. Ebb and flow. Good skills, good action. It wasn't just like, bombs away. Both guys showed a lot of skill, especially McCarthy. Now, personally, I thought McCarthy edged it, but it was no way a robbery. You know what I mean? The word robbery is one of the most overused terms in boxing, man. This was no robbery and the reason why you know that is that when the fight ended, you thought to yourself, well, I thought to myself, I thought I had McCarthy up. But I'm thinking to myself, if it's a draw, or even if it goes Billam-Smith's way, I would not be complaining. And of course, Billam-Smith got the nod. I suspect that he might have got the nod because in some of those rounds, he was clearly the aggressor. And I think sometimes that will leave the judges with a certain impression, you know what I mean? Especially in close fights. If a guy seems to be making the fight, he will get rewarded for that. Sometimes erroneously, because if it's not effective aggression, meaning that if you're not landing punches off the back of you coming forward, then it doesn't really mean that much. But I guess in close rounds, when you're literally waiting for, that one blow that might decide the round, if a guy's coming forward and looks like he's going to initiate the action, then the judges could be tempted to score for that particular guy in the round. But listen, man, I'd like to see that fight again. That's how good it is. You know what I mean? I would definitely like to see that. I think a draw would have been a fair result in this fight, to be honest.
But both of their stock rose for me. I like Chris Billam-Smith. I like Tommy McCarthy. And look, man, I think when I watched it, I might have had it like 114, 112 to McCarthy, but I'm not arguing that hard against the result. I wasn't like, there were swing rounds in there. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not too, I'm not saying it's a robbery at all.
I probably would have given it to McCarthy on the back of his being a black Irishman, Jamaican, you know what I mean? There can't be too many of them. So I'll give him a couple of extra points for me alone. No, but on a serious note, man, you can't really argue with Billam-Smith getting the decision.
No.
I can't. But I did like McCarthy's work. I mean, he had some excellent head movement in there. The way he was making Billam-Smith miss and then counter was a thing of beauty at times. He really did look good. He didn't always sustain the work, but then he did vary his game. There were rounds when he boxed on the back foot, made Bilham Smith miss, and caught him with shots, which was beautiful. Then there were rounds when he came forward. He initiated the action. So I thought his ring generalship was superior to Bilham Smith's. But like I said, man, it's an aesthetics thing. It's what you like to see. You know what I mean? Some people like to see guys display more aggression, more naked aggression. And when rounds are close, that can actually win you the fight.
Shout out to Chris Bilham Smith, man. I mean, not taking away anything from his victory. It was a great win.
Not at all. It's a great fight. Great fight. I think, although it's kind of at odds, because you would have thought that Bilham Smith is the harder puncher, but he was the one that got hurt more in that fight, wasn't he? I mean, I think Tommy McCarthy threw a brilliant overhand right, wasn't it? That seriously wobbled Bilham Smith in the second round. So, yeah, man, it was a close fight. I'd like to see them do it again. Credit to both guys.
Quickly touch on the main event here. Zhu Can or Kanzu. I don't know, like, whatever you pronounce it. I'm not trying to be rude. But Zhu Can against Lee Wood. Tremendous victory for Lee Wood, who picks up the WBA regular featherweight title. But great win for him. You know, he's had a solid career, and you know, this was a pinnacle of it. And he stopped Zhu Can in the 12th round. For me, great win for him. But what I was thinking during the fight was that this guy, this is the first time I've had a real proper look at him. And I know that they were building up the fight between him and Josh Warrington, weren't they? And I was just thinking that weren't as big as I may have thought it was going to be at the time. Do you know what I mean? Am I being wrong for saying that?
No, no. I think if you're Josh Warrington and you're watching that fight there, you're probably thinking, I'd much rather have fought Zhu Can or Kanzu rather than Lara, who he lost to. Because I have to say, I'm keeping it real. And then listen, man, this is nothing to take away from Lee Wood's great victory. He boxed really well. Perfect combination of boxing and power and varying his shots and stuff like that. He boxed really well, really mature fight. But I have to say, man, that based on what I heard about Zhu Can, I was actually quite disappointed. I think Andy Lee made reference to that when in his commentary as well. And it's funny because when he said it, literally, I kid you not, at the same time, I was thinking in my mind, this guy, world champion. I was thinking, he don't look like a world champion fighter to me, man.
It is the regular. I have to stress it. He's the regular belt.
Well,
Leo Santa Cruz holds the super belt, but I think Eddie Hearn's trying to lobby to get him stripped.
Well, I mean, listen, man. We've said it before on this program here about the proliferation of belts, and I mean, you don't know whether you're coming and going with in terms of world champions these days, regular, interim, all sorts of nonsense going on. But with that notwithstanding, I looked at Zhu Can and I thought, who did he win his world title from? Because he couldn't have been very good. Because this guy, I mean, I know they were trying to qualify it by saying he'd been out the ring for quite some time. But to be honest with you, man, he really didn't look like a world champion to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He must have been very carefully matched to have won that world title based on the performance. It could have been a bad night at the office for him. But looking at that guy, man, when you looked at the two of them in the ring, you would have thought that Lee Wood was the world champion. Because this guy didn't display anything, certainly in terms of skill, that you could say, yeah, he looks world class.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you know what? Fair play to Lee Wood, man. He's come a long way. He was alluding to the fact that he's got a new trainer, Ben Davison. You know what? You've got to give Ben Davison some credit, man, because he's been called all sorts of epithets over the last few years, PT instructor, and I think even I may have said thrown a few shots his way and made a few jabs at him because he does tend to like a camera and a microphone.
He polarizes opinion, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He likes a camera, he likes a microphone, and there would have been some people like myself who said, hang on a minute, man. Okay, you've been in the corner for Tyson Fury. But then even then, you're getting aired out by Freddie Roach, you know what I mean? And then he sort of created this little cult of celebrity around himself without actually ever proving himself at that level. But so if you're going to say that about him, then you also have to give him his credit for this fight because the tactics were perfect. And you had Lee Wood himself come on and give great praise to Ben Davis and said how he turned his career around and he feels like he's a totally different fighter. So you know what? Fair play to both of them.
Let's go to some comments here because we've got quite a lot of comments on that card. I just want to run through them. Harvey's put here, I agree. I edged McCarthy, but it wasn't a robbery.
Yeah, no way was it a robbery.
Stefan said here, I had Chris Billam-Smith edging it, but a rematch makes sense. They were very evenly matched. Big up my bro, Big Lou in the building. He's put here, big up the Lowdown. Big up, bro. Good to have you here. Stefan has also said here, what did everyone make of the commentary production? Very good. Well, in terms of the production, the commentary I didn't really rate. But he's put here, I thought it was biased for McCarthy and Lee had a shocker in the main event. What did you make of the whole, I thought that the production looked very good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like the way how they presented it. But the commentary is left to be desired. I think it could be much better. I think the presenters were okay. Maya Jama was presenting. They had Laura Woods. I think it's going to take time for them to really get into it. I think we should give them time. But in terms of
make a point on that. I mean, it's interesting because I was watching that fight with my girlfriend. She was watching it because of me, obviously. She's got no real interest in boxing, but she does know who Maya Jama was. And the first thing she was saying to me is, "Why is Maya Jama presenting a boxing show? What does she know about boxing?" And I was saying, "Well, listen. To be honest with you, a presenter doesn't have to know a whole lot about boxing to do the job competently. I mean, you will regularly see with other sports, even in the Olympics." You'll get people presenting shows that athletics or certainly the events that they're presenting is not their specialists. Just shouting at my boy Toby in the house. Toby from Tottenham, you know what I mean? Yeah. Respect, right?
We won't talk about Tottenham over here.
No, he's in the building because he did a show with one of the guys there. Arsenal playing Tottenham in a pre-season friendly. But anyway, I digress. Back to boxing. So my girlfriend was saying, what the hell have they got her doing it for? What's she know about boxing? And I was making a point to her that just because Maya Jama is not fully versed in the finer arts of boxing doesn't mean to say she can't make a good presenter. So that's where I stand on that. With regards to Andy Lee, I thought he actually said some very sort of insightful and very knowledgeable things. There's only a couple of issues I have with him is that, and this was pointed out to me after the fight, that I didn't actually at the time, I didn't really think about it too much, but obviously him being Irish and apparently he knows McCarthy well. So they were saying that there was a biasness there. Now that may have been the case because he thought McCarthy just edged it. But I wouldn't say he was being wholesale biased because he was giving Billam-Smith credit as well.
Yeah, but people like that comment from Stan, that's not the first person to say that Andy Lee was being biased and it was biased for McCarthy. But hey, I'd just like to see a bit more. I still want to see someone like maybe with Tony Bellew on there, with Bellew was there talking to Maya Jama. I'd like to see maybe someone else there as well.
I thought Tony Bellew is really good.
I'd just like to see someone else there as well, like in addition, not to replace him, in addition.
Who you want to see, Johnny Nelson?
No, Carl Froch. I want to see Froch in there.
Yeah, I like Carl Froch. I like Johnny Nelson as well.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I mean, listen, with Andy Lee, I think the thing that I've found with Andy Lee is that his voice is quite monotone, isn't it? He's got these dulcet tones that can make you think, oh, this guy's he's not illuminating the fight, you know what I mean? He's not making it sound exciting.
Listen, but I know
he's knowledgeable about boxing. I'll give him that. He does know his stuff. There was a few nuances that were going on there that really and truly only somebody that's fully versed in boxing, that's either been a top amateur or top pro, could give you those insights. And I really like that. But like I said, he's got that sort of monotone voice that some people might think, oh, no, this guy sounds boring. I personally don't think so. I like what he said. And I thought the production and the commentary was fine, to be honest with you. I've heard a lot worse.
Yeah.
Some of the American guys are way worse than that. You know what I mean?
More criticism for Zhukan here. Stefan said his Zhukan can surely perform better than that. He was very poor. Hopefully an inactivity issue, but he never really got going. Conrad has said here, Zhu had the worst high guard I have ever seen at this level. Big Lou has put here, too many belts again. Guys who should never be anywhere near the top 10 are calling themselves world champions. I have to agree. Nathan has put here, Andy Lee would serve better as an analyst, in my opinion, as opposed to a commentator. And Big Lou agrees with that as well. Harvey has put here, you should have a guest boxer a coach each show with Bellew and Maya. Yeah, listen, I think you should have someone in addition to Bellew and Maya Jama. Like, I guess coach is a good shout for me.
I'll tell you what you could have, and I know you're going to like this one. Tyson Fury's dad.
Oh, God. What about Paulie Malignaggi?
I'm not so sure, man. I'm not a big fan of Malignaggi, to be honest.
You're not a big fan of him, but what about him as a pundit and a commentator? Do you not think?
Yeah, actually, you're right. I shouldn't impose my biasness on things like this. I'm not a fan of him as a person. He said some things off camera that I really did have an issue with. I'm not going to go into it now, but I don't like him as a person. I think he can be quite vulgar and quite obnoxious. But yeah, he does know his stuff though, Paulie. So, but yeah, man, it would appear from the comments you're getting there that a lot of people agree with me that Andy Lee, whilst he's very knowledgeable, his monotone voice and dulcet tones don't make for really good excitement, do they? Or entertainment in terms of when you're watching the fight, which is a shame because the guy clearly knows his stuff.
Yeah.
No, man, you know what I mean? He turned it into a clown show.
Yeah, I agree.
That's some clown business, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What you do, Daryl, is to vary the guests. So you've got your presenter and then you've got your analyst, and then they bring on
like what David Hay does.
Yeah. David Hay's good, actually. I like David. I like Tony Bellew, Carl Froch. I like Johnny Nelson. It's not everyone's cup of tea, Johnny Nelson. Says some outrageous things sometimes, which is what makes him quite good, actually.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? I want to shout out my boy Ronald McIntosh, man. Why they not having these things?
Yeah.
You know? He's brilliant. I mean, if anyone's listening to the amateur boxing at the Olympics, it's been for BBC. It's been Ronald McIntosh and Richie Wood.
Them two go well with each other.
Yeah, them two would be great. You know what I mean? And like I said, I know Ronald personally. He's a friend of mine, so I'm going to declare an interest. But listen, man, the guy's an encyclopedia about boxing. Sometimes we'll ring each other up and we'll be on the phone for an hour, hour and a half, sometimes maybe as long as 2 hours talking about boxing. And he's much traveled. He's got great experience. He's got great insights, and he knows the game inside out, man. You know what I mean? So quite why he's not getting more work. Only the powers that be know, but he's really good at his job. Trust me.
DS has said here, Carl Froch would be good. He keeps it real and he doesn't toe the company line. Big up DS, man.
Oh, is that DS in the house? Yeah, big up DS. Yeah, big up.
He's right. That's why I like him as well, because I'm not saying he's the most knowledgeable, he provides the most insight, but he keeps it real and he just says what's on his mind. And sometimes you just want to hear that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You should get me and you on there, man.
Get us on there, man. I mean, it would be good on there.
No, I think, listen, I've got no problem with Maya Jama. And I'm not saying that because she looks the part either. She actually presented, if you just forget about the boxing for 1 minute, her actual presentation skills are actually very good. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Tony Bellew is brilliant for me. He's perfect in that role. Again, you're not going to agree with absolutely everything he says. And Tony Bellew's got a notorious bias towards Liverpool fighters. I think he's even said it.
What's he going to be like this week?
Yeah, he's even, no, but you know what? I'll give it to Tony Bellew. He's even said it. He goes, he'll always ride for the Scousers. He's actually said that. So, you know what I mean? Which may compromise him for certain fights. But on the whole, man, he's one of the best out there in terms of, you know what I mean, describing to the viewer, you know what I mean, what they're seeing, the breakdown of fights, giving you little insights into the boxer's mentality and stuff like that, and applying it to the world scene. He's as good as they get in this country for me.
All right, let's quickly run through these comments and go, because we've got some other stuff we need to touch on in the show today. Conrad has put here, I want commentary that hypes me up and entertains me. Leave the teaching to the analysts. Stefan has said here, Maya Jama and Laura Woods should switch roles. Francisco has said here, I know what you're talking about with Malignaggi. He said some ridiculous things. It was disappointing because he is a good commentator analyst, but I can't really appreciate it much anymore.
Spot on. Like I said, a lot of stuff for another show, but after some of the stuff he's come out with recently, man, some of his social commentary has just put me right off the guy. I'm just going to keep it 100. So I'm really glad we don't have to listen to him anymore, because it's a sort of thing that once somebody's spoken like he has done, every time I see this guy behind the camera or hear him talk, it just puts me in mind of what he said. So I'm just so glad he's been removed. So yeah, good riddance.
Mr. KWX Ben has put here, Maya has been through music, she's passed through basketball, now she's into boxing. I hope AJ is in hiding.
No, I wouldn't like to speculate on that last comment.
And Harvey's put here, Chris Lloyd was very good on commentary, in my opinion. Yeah, he was okay. He was okay.
Yeah, listen, man, you said it yourself. The production, I thought, was no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
Like I said, some people have got an issue with Andy Lee. I think Shane McGuigan as well come out and said that he felt that Andy Lee was biased towards Tommy McCarthy. That may or may not be true. I must admit, I didn't really make the connection at the time, although maybe I should have, because I think he did actually say that he knows Tommy McCarthy from the amateurs. But I thought a lot of what he said in that fight was spot on. Yeah. I mean, he had McCarthy by about a round up, so did I. But then he did give Billum Smith his props. You know what I mean?
You're not going to impress everyone, are you?
No.
So let's move on to this week, though, man, because we've got Fight Camp Week 2 taking place this week. I'm looking forward to that show. I'm just going to share my screen again so you guys can have a look at the card that we've got here for this week. And Fight Camp 2, sorry. Main event, Kid Galahad against Jazza Dickens 2 for the IBF featherweight title. You've got Fabio Wardley taking on Nick Webb. That's going to be for the English heavyweight title. Alan Babbage, he'll be fighting Mark Bennett. And Ebony Bridges. Wait. Before I carry on, did you see what your boy Gareth Davis said about Ebony Bridges this week?
No, you know what? Gareth Davis is another one that I just don't take any attention to what this guy says at all. I think he's a buffoon.
Do you know? Shall I tell you what he said? He said Ebony Bridges. I didn't read that. I'll be honest. I didn't watch the whole video, but he said that Ebony Bridges could be the Muhammad Ali of female boxing.
On account of what?
I just put, listen, man, if you got a crush on Ebony Bridges, then just say it, man. Just be open and say it. You know what I mean? Stop saying outrageous things. I think the man's been staring more at her chest than he has been at her boxing skills, man. But Gareth Davis, he's a real sycophant. He's a buffoon. His credibility's just gone down and down. And he used to be really good. You know what? He's what we call in the black community an idiot. Yeah. So if anyone's out there that knows him, tell Gareth Davis that I said he's an idiot. He don't know anything about boxing, man. He's a clown. You know what I mean? He's got no credibility. All he does is blow smoke up certain fighters' asses. People like Billy Joe Saunders and Tyson Fury and one or two others. Well, anyone that's, you know what I mean, if Dylan and AJ's in front of him, he's going to do the same thing to them as well. I've got no time for that guy at all. None. So what you said there sounds like the type of thing you would say as well. Yeah, he said it. What I want to know is what is his justification for making such a ridiculous statement? I wish I could tell you. Looking at Ebony Bridges at her weigh-ins, maybe. What you know what I mean? Where's it? And even there, where did you get the connection to Ali? I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't answer it. Guy's a clown. But in terms of that card, you know what? Yeah, man, I like the look of that card. It's possibly a better card than last week. In fact, it is a better card than last week. Because that main event for a start, that's lit, man. That's lit. I mean, those two guys are quality guys. They fought before. Kid Galahad won, but that was a while ago. Since then, Jazza Dickens has come on. He looks hella strong at this weight. And he's looking confident, and I reckon he could upset the odds, although I do have Galahad as a slight favourite. I think in that heavyweight fight, that could go either way. I'm looking forward to that heavyweight fight. Yeah, man, that could be, because Fabio Wardley, I have to say, man, that last fight, he didn't look very good at all. I'm not just going to judge his whole career off the back of one fight, because it's going to be a bad night at the office. But up until that stoppage, man, that very dubious stoppage as well, I actually thought he was losing, and he got rocked a couple of times in that fight. Nick Webb ain't going to be phased at all by this. No, Nick Webb had a good win in his last fight, didn't he? Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, listen, I'm not writing off Fabio Wardley. He's a young guy. He doesn't even have a big background in boxing. He come from the white collar circuit, which is less than amateurs, let's face it. And he's done well for himself. He looks the part. He can clearly punch. So if he lands first, it could be one of those fights, isn't it? Who lands cleanly first?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Nick Webb has been put out of there before. So, you know what I mean? Fabio Wardley hasn't lost, but like I said, in his last fight against Eric, what's the guy's name? Eric
Molina.
Yeah. A guy that, let's face it, on previous visits to this country has been a bit of a punching bag. But he was able to expose Fabio Wardley to a certain degree in that last fight, man. You know what I mean? And he hurt him a couple of times as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then Fabio Wardley hit him with some rather dubious looking shot, and all of a sudden,
yeah. But we knew that Eric Molina, when he got touched, he's going to look for a nice, comfy place on the floor to sleep on. But,
no, you're saying that, not me. You're basically doubting the man's integrity. I'm not going to.
No, but a lot of people before the fight were saying, man, when it gets tough, he's going to look for a way out. And listen, I'm not calling. Like, I'm just keeping it real here, man. That's what people were saying. I'm just saying that's what they were saying.
Right. I have to say, he did look a bit dubious because he didn't look like he'd been caught with anything special, did it?
No.
Because he looked like he hit Fabio Wardley way harder than what he got hit. And yet, the first time he got hit, he just seemed to, any ambition and any desire he had to win seemed to just dissipate instantly.
Which is a shame because he showed he had the talent.
Yeah, prior to that, he was actually winning that fight. I remember saying to you after, I thought, rah, this man's beating on Fabio Wardley. And Fabio Wardley was like holding his hands down by his knees, it seemed.
Yeah.
Trying to do this Mayweather stroke Ali impression. It weren't working, man. He looked terrible. He weren't letting his hands go. Getting beaten to the punch by Eric Molina. I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't think he should do that against Nick Webb. I don't think he should do that this weekend.
Yeah, man, I was watching. I was thinking, what are we doing around here, man? What are you doing? Yeah. You're getting beaten by a journeyman. You know what I mean? What's supposed to be one of your coming out parties. I was like, rah. But then he got down to business, landed a couple of shots, including one that, to me, I have to say, didn't look that hard. And next minute, you know, Eric Molina's getting stopped. So, yeah. But I don't think Nick Webb's going to go out like that. He definitely is not going to go out like that. He's going to be in there pitching.
What about the other fights, man? Alan Babbage against Mark Bennett for one of them. That'll be an all-out slugfest, wouldn't it?
Babbage is always entertaining. He's got a great little niche in it. He's got a great little.
Bennett's tough as well.
Yeah, so that will be exciting while it lasts. Although I do fully expect Babbage to get the win. And then, of course, we've got the female.
The female Ali against the Beck Connolly.
I would really like to know this causal link between Ebony Bridges and Muhammad Ali. How dare you do that as well? Put someone like, no disrespect to Ebony Bridges, but how can you mention someone like her in the same breath as Muhammad Ali anyway? Even that's insulting. So that just goes to show what I'm not even going to say the word, you know, it starts with D and it ends with D. You know what I mean? And that's what Gareth A. Davis tend to stick to MMA, man. I mean, this guy he used to write columns in the Times or one of them papers on MMA. All of a sudden, he's found his way in boxing. You know what I mean? And I've met the guy as well. That's the other reason why I'm saying what I'm saying. I've actually met him. And I was very underwhelmed by him, man.
Really?
Came across as a real idiot. Yeah. Dickhead, man. You know what I mean? Get him out.
Listen, man, you got a crush on Ebony Bridges and just say it, man.
Yeah, you say that. I find her really attractive.
Shot, man. Just shoot your shot. I think she's taken anyway. But yeah,
well, she's going to go for someone like him anyway. Come on.
Yeah, but I think people are overhyping her anyway, man. If I'm being on it, like I'm not saying she's not bad looking, but come on, man. These men are going on like. Do you know what I mean? Is it just me?
I think it's because of her attire and non-boxing assets, put it that way. You know what I mean? Well, listen, man, she's a very attractive woman. And I have to say that she's a good fighter. or good
Yeah,
woman.
she is. Yeah, let's talk about her actual fighting.
When she fought Shannon Courtney, man, that was a very good fight. She toughed it out. She's hella tough.
Very
so
tough.
You see why people would want to watch her. But this clown coming along making statements like this does her no favors either, actually.
Yeah.
But then that's Gareth A. Davis, is a complete buffoon.
Yeah, Beck Connolly, who she's fighting. She's tough. I think she'll give it a go. But I'm not sure how the fight will go. To be honest, I don't know much about her. But I'm guessing Ebony Bridges will be the favorite in this one.
Yep, I would have thought so.
And the other two fights here, I'll be honest, don't know much about them either. But yeah, what's your take on that? You like the actual card in general?
Yeah, I like the card. Man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it slightly edges out last week's card on paper. Although we have to say that, remember that card last week, there was a fight, the Conor Benn fight would have been a good fight, actually. I'm sure that would have been a great fight. But for reasons beyond Conor Benn's control, although some people are saying that he might have been a bit reckless, and apparently he wasn't in the bubble for that fight, is what I'm hearing.
But there's no mandatory bubble, is there now? Maybe they might have to bring that back. I don't know.
I think they should. Especially for the main event.
Yeah.
Especially for the main event. I mean, maybe some of the undercard guys, maybe it depends on the resources that they've got. But the main guys, no, man, they should be in the bubble for real. It's too much of a risk. Let
me go to some of the comments here, because you lot have been roasting Gareth Davis, man. I haven't seen it because I was sharing my screen, but I'm looking at them now. And IA has big up IA in the chat, man. He's put here, yes, guys, the zone has been great, but Gareth Davis needs his laptop searching. Harvey has put here, get Gareth out. He doesn't want him in boxing.
Listen, when I say Gareth Davis is an idiot, I'm not just saying that based on what I've seen on TV. I've actually met him. So that's why I'm saying what I say with a certain amount of authority, because I met the guy, and like I said, I was very underwhelmed by the way he conducted himself. So that's why I say what I say. And, you know what I mean? I'm not being like, I'm not just hating for the sake of it. I've had the displeasure of being in his company. And I have to say, I found him to be a real jerk. So, and I've not been impressed with his so-called boxing knowledge either, which he basically just Googles it. You can tell he's one of them, man, innit? That just Googles, man, and just starts narrating stories. And you think, do you really believe that, or did you just get that off Google? You've got no depth in boxing. Where's your depth in boxing? You were an MMA guy before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You are to boxing what I am to MMA, because at first, when I first came across MMA, I didn't even like it. I was like, how are you going to have two men in briefs rolling around on the floor? I was a bit ignorant about MMA. I'm not gonna lie. But then I saw a couple of fights, and I thought to myself, you know what? I actually quite appreciate the skill level of these guys and what they do and how tough they are, and the discipline that they have to get in shape and stuff like that. So I started to take it a lot more seriously, and now I know a lot more about the sport. I'm a lot more wiser. So that's probably how Gareth A. Davis got into boxing, or maybe it's because he needed to fill a berth in some newsroom or somewhere. So they put him on a few boxing gigs, and all of a sudden he's becoming this so-called authority on boxing. But he's not. You've only got to listen to him to understand that. You know what it is, isn't it, Darryl?
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're saying.
If you listen to them for a couple of minutes, you could tell if they're really about that life when it comes to boxing.
That's what I love about, you know what I mean, the boxing community, because we can fish out somebody that we know ain't really. We know if you know boxing or not. We know. Do you know what I mean?
The term is real, recognize real. If you're a real fan or a real boxing head, a real boxing nerd,
we can spot the BS, man.
You just let them talk for a couple of minutes, get them to express a few opinions, and you think, you know what, this guy's a fake. Get him out of here, man. What are we doing it? You know what I mean? And that's what I think about Gareth A. Davis. Go back to rugby or MMA or whatever it is that you do, man, because you're not a boxing guy. You're fake.
Stefan says here, Gareth A. Davis is a strange guy. I wouldn't like to browse his hard drive, that's for sure.
Bro,
people are saying the same thing. Let's actually get to the fights here. Big Lewis put here, Wardley versus Webb is a good fight. Conrad agrees. He thinks it's a decent fight. The main event is good as well, as Conrad says here. Webb is live for the first 2 or 3 rounds, Stefan says.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment. He's definitely in the first 2 or 3 rounds. He'll definitely be dangerous. He can punch. I think sometimes he relies on that punching power a bit too much, but he can crack, man, with either hand. And if he lands on Fabio Wardley goes out there and has his hands round by his waist, showing reckless abandonment like what he did against Eric Molina, then it might not end up too well for him if he does that. But I would imagine that Fabio Wardley, being the younger guy, possibly the stronger guy, I understand that he was a good all-round athlete growing up, so he's probably got a certain level of athleticism that Nick Webb probably doesn't have. But that doesn't mean to say he's going to win. So you know what? I think that's 55-45 fight in favor of Fabio Wardley. But if Nick Webb was to win, it certainly wouldn't be the shock of the century for me.
Yeah. It's going through some of these comments here, man. Nathan has put here, boxing is full of shady characters. Big up Mohammed Zishan here. He's saying, do you think Frank Warren should sign with Sky Sports now that Eddie Hearn has left? And Sky Sports production is a lot better than BT's, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't know, man. I think
I think Sky Sports should find someone to head up their boxing.
Yeah, maybe do something else.
Yeah, bring somebody younger and fresher onto the scene. No disrespect to Frank Warren, man, but he does his own thing. There's space in the market for somebody to come along and approach things differently. That's what we want to see. A diverse, element, not just the same old guys doing the same old things.
DS has said here, Gareth Davis says Bridges is a free spirit and could change the way people see women's boxing. That's maybe where he got that Ali comment from.
Kiss my teeth. Move on.
Big up IB here, man. He's put here, it's crazy how much boxing plays with your feelings. To think last week everyone in here was down and out, and now after good weekends of fights and GB success, we're all upbeat. I said earlier, at the beginning of the show, I feel a bit more upbeat. I don't know why, but the way how you've put it there, I guess I agree with you, man. Like, I feel more upbeat than last week. I still have my reservations about a lot of things, and these are not going to be quick fixes. So it's just something I'm just going to have to deal with, and we're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, listen, man, boxing will always be boxing. It's the wild, wild west out there, man. I mean, anything goes. People seem to make the rules up as they go along. But as I said to you last week, that analogy I drew, boxing is like that sort of errant girlfriend that you got, isn't it? But although you know that she's doing you dirty, you still can't drag yourself away. And I think that's what boxing's like at times, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the gift that keeps giving, not always the right gifts. I mean, I'm pretty sure next week there'll be some other, something else to give cause for another meltdown. I mean, I see the Canelo Caleb Plant seems to be falling through. Now they're talking about Dimitri Bivol. That would be a real.
Yeah, I knew. We might as well move on to that because that's one of my topics. But I knew you'd bring Canelo in somehow.
Well, I mean, listen, man, he's the so-called pound for pound, so-called face of boxing, so-called, you know what I mean, so-called by so-called, you know what I mean, so-called by people who ignore a lot of the fuckeries that this guy's involved with.
What about Bivol then at a catchweight? What you heard about that? Did you hear about that?
You see, this is the problem I've got with Dimitri Bivol. The man should have fought Beterbiev from time. Now he is.
Yeah, but can you blame him?
He's agreeing apparently to a catchweight, which means effectively he's selling his O to Canelo. We all know what's going on around here, man. He's selling the O to Canelo. He's going to get a few more digits on the end of the paycheck, but he's basically selling out. And
so this you think he's not got a chance then?
Well, it depends on the terms, isn't it? But it sounds like he's agreeing to a catchweight. That means he's coming down in weight to fight a guy that's probably going to be consuming a lot of Mexican beef before the fight, and he's probably going to get beaten because unless he knocks Canelo out, he's not getting a decision, is he? And I have to say as well, in his last fight that he fought against Craig Richards, he wasn't overly impressive in that fight. That's probably why Canelo wants him. Canelo's seen that fight with Craig Richards and thinks, yeah, he looks beatable, man. I'll tell you what we'll do as well. We'll get him down from 12 stone 7, which he probably struggles to make. If you put in a catch weight of 12 stone 3, and I beat him, then as he signs the contract, I can have his title. then I'll be a 25-time world. You know, it's just nonsense. See, now you've got me started again. Now you see what I'm saying.
Conrad has said here, if you want that 175-pound belt, go and fight at 175 pounds. It's ridiculous.
To me, I blame Bivol for he's got no integrity. Why are you selling your belt out like that? Why don't you just go and have a unification fight with Beterbiev? You know what I mean? Instead of that, you don't want to fight Beterbiev. You're clearly done.
But can you blame him for fighting Canelo?
Yeah, I can blame him. I can actually blame him.
5 times the money than fighting Beterbiev?
I can actually blame him because he should have fought Beterbiev first. Because, you know what I mean, we don't know in the light heavyweight division who is the numero uno at that weight. And it's been that way for some time because none of these guys want to get in the ring with each other. And then you get a light heavyweight that's continually calling out a super middleweight.
Oh, hold on.
I can't actually blame him.
Okay, so if you're Bivol's manager, yeah, and you're thinking of the best, I'm not saying I agree with this, but I'm just saying what you would do in the best interest of your client or your fighter. Would you say to Bivol, go after Beterbiev or fight Canelo? What would you say?
Well, they're going to go, listen, they're going to go after Canelo, innit? Because more money, considerably more money. But what I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make is that you've been holding that title now for a long time. You've hardly fought anyone. During that time, people have been saying, why not go after Beterbiev for a unification fight? He's shown absolutely no interest in that, despite what our boy Shane says.
Shane,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I wish Shane was here
no
today.
interest in that, right? All of a sudden, you fight Craig Richards in a very, let's face it, very underwhelming fight. And you're calling out super middleweights when you're supposed to be the light heavyweight champion in the world. If you were calling out cruiserweights, I would have more time for that. But you don't want to unify, and you're calling out super middleweights. And now you're agreeing to a catchweight, which basically tells me you're selling your O to Canelo. But like I said, no way in the world you're going to get a victory over Canelo on points. And you're not that dude when it comes to punching power. And what advantages you do have, Canelo's taking them away from you by getting you to boil down in weight to 3 or 4 pounds below your normal fighting weight, which you probably struggle to make anyway. Or if not struggle, you probably have to do your due diligence.
He's not a very big light heavyweight though, is he?
Yeah, but he's quite thick in the shoulders. He's quite broad. He doesn't, you know what I mean? You're right. He's not the biggest light heavyweight, but he's not the smallest either, is he? I mean, my boy Dan Aziz is a light heavyweight, and he's a lot smaller than Bivol. And Craig Richards, who was taller than him, but if you looked at the stature of the two guys, Bivol clearly was the thicker guy through the shoulders and the arms and stuff like that. So he's not small. Yeah.
Stefan has put here, I've seen Plant get stick for his Canelo stance, but I respect it. So do I. That's going against the grain, but I'll carry on. It says a lot about his mindset. I need to see him in with a top contender next, though. Yeah, he better not fight Caleb Truax. Like, I saw that as well. But, like, I agree. A lot of people are really going for Caleb Plant. I saw he put a post on Instagram. People putting duck emojis on there. And do you know what I mean? A lot of people going for his head.
They're having a go at Plant, Daryl, because they're dick riding Canelo. So they're trying to blame it all on Caleb Plant. But what I've heard, the vast majority of the stuff that I've heard, and I've got no reason to disbelieve it, is that Caleb Plant has pretty much agreed to all his terms, bar a couple, and one of which I'm hearing is the drug testing. Now, if I was Caleb Plant, I would be of a similar mindset. I'd be saying, listen, man, I've given you absolutely everything else, but on those things, I'm not budging. If what we're hearing is to be believed. But all of a sudden, all these people are just, it's Caleb Plant fault. It's Caleb, he's stuck in him. No, he's not. You can tell Caleb Plant wants that fight.
Yeah.
You can tell he wants to fight. And listen, I'm sure Canelo wants to fight too, but Canelo is being a diva. He wants everything his own way. And I think Caleb Plant, who is a champion, let's face it, it's not like he's not a champion. If they don't fight, he can still lay claim to having that IBF belt.
To be fair to Canelo, he was willing to fight. Canelo was willing to go fight on the PBC to make that happen, wasn't he? So he did give that up. Do you know what I mean? He was willing. I know he's a free agent, but he was willing to cross the street.
Yeah, I heard that as well. If you're asking me, I think the drug testing is playing some part in this.
Yeah, you said that last week.
That's my opinion. You know, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that the drug testing thing, for some reason, a lot of fighters don't seem to want to enroll in VADA. I wonder why that is.
Oh, it's doesn't look good anyway, does it?
It's not like Canelo can't afford it, is it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like you can't afford it, and the purse was 40 million. So you're telling me you don't want to enroll in VADA because of that? So why don't you enroll in VADA? That sounds to me like the Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao days when Manny Pacquiao was citing needles as to why he didn't want to, you know what I mean, subject himself to random drug tests. And then they were citing needles, and people pointed out, hang on a minute, the same guy you're saying doesn't like needles got tattoos on his body. So what's all that about?
Big up Rasta Dad in the chat here. He's put, evening, gents. I'm late again. Back to the start. Yeah. We started a bit earlier today, man. But yeah, feel free to catch up. Good to have you here, Rasta Dad. Francisco, he's put here, even with all your criticism, and let's remember Francisco's a Mexican here. He's put, even with all your criticism, which I agree with, Bivol is still a tougher challenge for Canelo than Plant. But I still hope that the Plant fight happens.
Why? Why is that? Why? What has Bivol done? Okay, you know what? Fair enough. Bivol does have a couple of good wins. He beat Joe Smith Jr. for one, which was a good win. But
Do you not rate Bivol?
No, I'm not saying I don't rate him, but Francisco's saying that it's a harder fight. But there's 2 points I want to make on that. Listen, Bivol's advantages in this fight, yeah, if he fights Canelo, would have been is that he's the bigger, stronger guy, yeah. Now, like I said, if they boil him down to a catch weight, automatically he's losing those advantages. So does that make him a better opponent? Sorry, a tougher opponent for him than Caleb Plant? Not necessarily.
I mean, listen, man, Bivol he had the better amateur record. Yeah, a very, very good amateur. And I think he's a very good pro. I
yeah,
think
but he's not fighting at his natural weight. They're asking him to boil down, and he's agreed to it. So does that make him an automatically better or tougher opponent for him than Canelo? In terms of the name,
is Bivol pound for pound a better fighter than Plant, basically?
No, but Daryl, the point I'm making is very important here. If you've got a guy that's campaigned at light heavyweight for all his career, and then all of a sudden now you're asking him to boil down an extra 4 pounds less than his fighting weight, I would imagine that's going to make him considerably weaker in the fight, especially if the fight goes a certain amount of rounds. I think that's going to make a big difference to the outcome of the fight.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I rate Bivol highly, man. I think Bivol is a very good fight. And that fight against Craig Richards, he was out for a while. Do you know what I mean? Maybe there was a bit of ring rust there for him not looking at his best. But I agree with you on one thing, that he's not fighting at his natural weight, for sure, if he does boil down to the catch weight that agreed with Canelo. I don't agree with that. I echo what everybody else is saying.
Is Bivol a knockout puncher?
He's not a devastating knockout puncher. No. He has had some one punch knockouts.
Yeah, but not at this level, right?
He's not a prolific one punch knock. He's not. He's not.
And you're going in against Canelo, one of the guys with one of the best chins in boxing, a guy who, you know what I mean, I've never seen him down. He got rocked by Miguel Cotto's brother when he was about 17 years old. You know what I mean? He's shared the ring with one of the biggest punchers in boxing, Triple G, 2 fights. Never got even rocked in those fights, yeah? He's been in with Kovalev, man like that. Big punchers. They couldn't put a dent in him. And you want Dimitri Bivol, who's not a big puncher by those standards.
North Plant.
Right? And a boiled down version at that. And you think he's going to beat Canelo. And you think he's going to get the nod over Canelo in a point scenario. Do you really see them lifting Bivol's hand? He would have to knock Canelo down and like have him run ragged just to get a draw. You know what I mean? That's the type of thing he's up against. And that's what I'm saying about Canelo, man, in terms, there's some very good things that Canelo brings to boxing, but there's also some pretty bad things he brings as well.
Let's remember, Caleb Plant ain't a prolific puncher either.
No, he's not. But,
very good boxer.
But then I didn't say that Caleb Plant would beat Canelo. I'm just talking about how it appears to me that Bivol is just selling his ode to Canelo and seems quite happy to do it as well. And that's disappointing for me, to be honest.
So what happens then if I mean, what happens if Bivol boils down in weight and like, I mean, is that the belt still on the line? The light heavyweight belt? He's a WBA.
No, listen, man, Canelo runs boxing, and he's going to say to the WBC or wherever the sanctioning body is going to be, he's going to say, look, I'm Canelo. I'm bringing the fans and the money to this fight. I want Bivol's belt on the line. Do you think they're going to say no? What do you think?
No, I don't.
Right.
Harvey says here, Bivol outboxes him, but he don't get the decision, in his opinion.
That could well be true. That could be the scenario, because he has been outboxed before by Austin Trout, by Erislandy Lara, to name but two. Did they get the decision? No, they didn't.
Yeah. Let's see what happens, man. Nothing's been officially announced yet. Personally, I hope that the Plant fight can somehow be resurrected, but it doesn't look like it at this point. If Canelo does fight Dimitri Bivol, then where does Caleb Plant go? I don't want to see him fight Caleb Truax. Maybe try and get that Benavidez fight on, but that probably won't happen either.
Yeah. I think he's been called out by Jamal Charlo as well. That would be a good fight.
Yeah, that would be a good fight. That would be a good fight, actually. Yeah. I'll take that fight.
Yeah, I'll take that fight. In fact, I think I'd rather see that fight than the fight with Canelo. Because like I said, with Canelo fights, man, I've got to that stage with Canelo fights. Although I watch it because the guy's tremendously talented, there's always this little thing in the back of my mind that I'm watching basically an organized fix. Seriously, that's how I feel when I watch him fight. There was the Avni Yildirim, but that was just laughable, wasn't it? Come on, man. That was, and then we come to find out that Canelo rolled up on the WBC and said, "Yeah, you make Avni Yildirim my mandatory challenge."
Yeah,
which they succumbed to.
Let me just read this comment here, and there's a few other topics. We ain't gonna have time to touch on them completely, but I want to just quickly touch on them. Rasta Dad has put here, I'm not saying the game is rigged for Canelo, but you would need to be very, very special to take him out.
Yeah, it's true, like Floyd Mayweather did.
Yeah. Let me just ask a couple of things here. Did you first of all see Michael Hunter against Mike Wilson when he fought last week?
I didn't see the fight. I heard he was, because he turned down. See,
yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, I know.
He didn't take the fight with Filip Hrgović, did he, to take this fight? And he was saving money. You know what? In a way, fair play to Mike Hunter. He actually did say that. He said, "Listen, man, I'm doing it. Yes, you can call it ducking, but the money that I'm getting for this fight is more money than I would have got for Hrgović, which was a way harder fight." So
yeah,
Hunter,
he did say that, but that's cool for saying that. But what my criticism of Michael Hunter is, which I'm sure everybody else was before that, you were claiming to be that guy, the bounty hunter, the person that, you know what I mean, you'd fight anyone, no one wants you and all that. That's why it was very underwhelming when he did that. I totally understand why, but come on, man, you put your whole career basically as that guy, to the bounty hunter, the guy who nobody wants to fight, he'll fight anybody, blah, blah, blah. Then when this fight came about with Hrgović now, you didn't want it. Let's be real, you didn't want it. And then now you're talking about the more money situation, which is fine. Everybody's got to make a living. I'm not criticizing you at that point, but you do have to be real, man. When that smoke came, you didn't want it.
Exactly. And then the thing is as well, where he deserves to be criticized. If you're that guy, and okay, you could argue that the money that you were getting for Hrgović is not as much as you were getting for knocking over some stiff. But at the end of the day, you've got to look at it like this. If you're a fighter, if I beat Hrgović, which he should be believing in himself, then the doors will open for me for a title shot. So that's how he should have been looking at it. But unfortunately, a lot of the boxers today, you know what I mean? And Conrad Boxing makes a very good point there. That moniker, the bounty hunter, what does that mean? It means you do it for money. So the guy's basically, you know what I mean? It's all in the name, as they say. The clue is in the name, bounty hunter. He's only here for the money.
Stefan has said here, bounty hunter has now become the cherry hunter. So listen, I'll be honest, I didn't even bother watching it, man. I just like caught the
I think Mike Hunter has kind of fallen off the radar, and he hasn't helped himself by doing that. I mean, Eddie Hearn got rid of him, and he came out, and he was obviously very disappointed. But then, like you said, man, he's not helped himself or his career by making moves like this. To me, what he did there, okay, you're making a lot more money, but it shows a distinct lack of ambition to me, because if you were as good as you say you are, then you would have taken the Hrgovic fight, beaten him, and then went out there and said to the other lot, what now? Look, see?
Yep.
One of your top young guns, I've just taken him out. Come talk to me. And he would have got a lot of attention around that.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he would have got a world title shot off the back of it. He's not going to get a world title shot off the back of beating this guy.
What's your thoughts on the rumors, should I say? I mean, nothing in concrete yet, but there was talk about Tank Davis potentially moving up to welterweight to take on Keith Thurman. Now, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what to think about this, if I'm honest. I don't actually know what to think. Part of me, yeah, I'll be honest with you, part of me is a bit intrigued by it. I'm just thinking, hold on, I wonder how he would do. Would he knock Thurman out? But then another part of me is saying, this is ridiculous, man. How are we even talking about Tank Davis against Keith Thurman? But this is boxing now.
He wants to jump up to welterweight to fight Keith Thurman, but yet he wouldn't fight Vasyl Lomachenko at lightweight, and he won't fight Josh Taylor at light welterweight. See, this is what a lot of this is what's wrong with boxing.
It is what's wrong with
cherry
boxing.
picking, man.
It is. But what do you think about that? Keith Thurman and Tank Davis.
It doesn't excite me, that fight. It does, because at the end of the day, they're cherry picking Thurman because he's not fought for a couple of years. He lost his last fight to Manny Pacquiao. If you look at Keith Thurman's record, he hasn't had a knockout on his record now for years. Remember when he was calling himself one time and bombing out certain guys? You know what I mean? He's not that guy anymore. Plus, if you follow Keith Thurman's career, you can see that a guy, he's clearly not in love with boxing. He's clearly only in it for the money. So I think Tank Davis would probably have a good shot of beating Thurman, to be honest with you. Because Thurman is not the same dude that was running around calling himself one time and all that. Remember back in the day?
I missed that.
Took me, son. Remember when he said that to Paulie? That was prime. I missed that Keith Thurman that we knew and loved.
I missed that Keith Thurman.
Yeah, that was the same Keith Thurman. I'm not afraid to let it go. Remember that?
Yeah.
When he was coming through, and you know, but what happened to him? He became the fattened calf, didn't he? He made a lot of money. He found love. He got married. He's had a child. And you know what I mean? Keith Thurman's one of those guys. You're not going to see him at the fights, are you? You know, when there's a big fight going on, you never see Keith Thurman there.
No.
He's not interested. You know what I mean? He knows that boxing is the way he makes his money, and he'll only fight for the money. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's not. So I think probably Tank would probably have a very good chance of beating him, to be honest.
What do you think about this? Dubois and Tommy Fury both fighting on the Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley undercard.
Well, the first thing I would say about that is, isn't it ironic? Tommy Fury going on about he's the real fighter. I'm the real fighter here. You're just a, what do you call him? You're just a YouTuber. And you're fighting on a YouTuber's undercard. What a clown. After all the way you were running your mouth about Jake Paul, right? Oh, he's nothing. I'm a real fighter. I'm a serious man, this and that. You know what I mean? Despite some of your opponents having records that even Jake Paul wouldn't fight. And now you're appearing on the undercard of Jake Paul's fight. How embarrassing, man.
I think Dubois on there is a bit weird, man. I don't know. I just don't know how that's going to look. Dubois.
Well, to Dubois, he probably just needs some work in it. He's probably going to get well paid. He can go over there, knock over some stiff, and continue his rehabilitation. So I've got no real problem with Dubois.
No, I ain't got a problem with it. I'm just saying, like, you know how those Triller cards are? It's not Triller, is it, actually? This ain't. But you know the whole circus around Jake Paul and that and whatever. And the type of crowd that's going to be there and all everything else. And Dubois, because he's very serious and very stern and a bit, you know what I mean? Like, how is he going to... Listen, I'm looking forward to it, but it's a bit... It threw me off a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
It's a bit incongruous to see him, on that type of billing.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's probably to continue his rehabilitation, go to America, different experience, probably going to pay him quite nicely as well. And if he knocks over the guy, which I'm sure he will, then he can use the American platform to start calling out a few people. I mean, I see he's getting a bit vociferous recently. I saw him calling out, who was he calling out? Dillian, wasn't he? And somebody else he was calling out as well recently. But Tommy Fury, shame on you, man. You know what I mean? Shame on you. Another one who sold himself out for money. All that tough talk him and his dad were making about Jake Paul, and then you end up fighting on the man's undercard. How embarrassing. And just goes to show that the Furies, man, they
trying
are
to get him in the ring, innit?
Yeah, but even so, man, come on his undercard. I'll tell you one thing, right? Jake Paul would not have fought on Tommy Fury's undercard. I'll tell you that now. He wouldn't do it.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't have done
it. A bit more integrity about him than that.
Stefan has put here, I don't think it's a bad move for Dubois. As long as he scores a highlight reel KO, it will do a fair bit for his profile.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And let's face it, at the end of the day, man, this is the way boxing's going now, isn't it? A lot of fighters are fighting on YouTube as undercards. We've seen Devin Haney and Billy Joe Saunders, to name but two, that's done it. You know, and it will continue to happen. So like I said, I've got no problem with Dubois doing it. Like I said, it's more exposure. I'm sure he'll get paid well. He'll get to knock over some nondescript guy, and then he'll start shouting the odds. You know what I mean? So it works well for him. Like I said, Tommy Fury, however, different gravy, man. You're a clown. You know what I mean? Yeah. You were there dissing the guy, saying what you're going to do to him. When I see him, it's on site. Now you're agreeing to go on the guy's undercard. Please stop playing, man.
Lastly here, before we wrap up the show, I just wanted to ask this question. I can't really elaborate on it too much. I'm sure we will in the upcoming weeks ahead, but literally a few weeks ahead, 21st of August, I think it is, Pacquiao and Spence. I mean, are you excited about this? Do you feel like we've had as much promotion for the fight as we should have done? I've seen a few videos on the internet recently about it, but what's your actual thoughts? I mean, are you excited about this fight coming up? You wasn't really when it was announced, was you?
I mean, I have to be honest and say, listen, I'll watch the fight, and I'm sure it'll be a good fight because, let's face it, two quality individuals. Got Manny Pacquiao, all-time great, versus Errol Spence, one of the better fighters in the game today. I'm sure it's going to be a very good fight. But if I'm being absolutely honest, I'm not excited about the fight. The reason being is that, number one, Pacquiao is 42 years old now. He shouldn't really be boxing, especially not at this level. And the fight I wanted to see was Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. And wouldn't it be ironic if Errol Spence loses this fight? Because between him and Terence Crawford, they could actually have isolated Manny Pacquiao out of the game, even though he's got the regular belt.
He hasn't anymore.
Yeah, then there wouldn't have been that clamour for this fight. You know what I mean? If he'd have taken on Terence Crawford, that would have been the fight that genuinely would have excited people like me. This fight, Spence versus Pacquiao, is a good fight. Like I said, I will watch it. It's going to be a good night for boxing. But the fight I really wanted to see was Errol Spence versus Crawford. And that's why I'm not overly excited about this fight. Because it's clear to me that Manny kind of cherry-picked Errol because he's thinking that Errol coming off the back of the axe. Listen, man, I even heard Freddie Roach say that this week in an interview, that the reason why they went for him is because they don't think he's the same guy since the car crash. So obviously they view him as a lesser threat than Crawford, who him and Crawford are in the same stable. So that fight was the easier one to make. But he's actually jumped to that so-called other side of the street to fight Spence because they're seeing some fragility there. So what they think is fragility. So they're taking on Errol Spence. So yeah, in answer to your question, I will be watching the fight, but I'm not overly excited for it.
Steve Harrison has said here, did you see the WBO have changed the mandatory purse splits for Stevenson versus Herring? The champ gets 37%. Terrible.
Yeah, I was very disconcerted when I heard that. I mean, especially after Jamel Herring's last performance when he pulled off the opposite and not just beat Frampton, but stopped him. That's his reward for putting his belt on the line against Shakur Stevenson and then getting a considerably less percentage than the challenger. That don't make sense to me at all. Although we've seen this type of thing in boxing before, haven't we? Again, it goes back to the whole diva-esque attitude of certain fighters. Not that Shakur Stevenson's a diva. He hasn't done anything in the sport to even warrant that anyway. But, hey, you know.
Francisco Alator has put here, are they drug testing Manny Pacquiao?
Well, I've heard yes and I've heard no. I don't really know, man. They should be. If I was Errol Spence, that would have been one of the things I insisted upon. Because, listen, man, let's keep it 100. There's been rumors surrounding Manny Pacquiao for years and years about drugs and stuff like that. And we know, for example, in the Keith Thurman fight, he didn't. There was no drug testing, and Keith Thurman, he sold his own.
I think he is. I think he is. I mean, I think that he has been drug tested by VADA for this fight. I think he has been.
Or is it because there's drug testing and then there's random drug testing? You know what I mean? There are levels to this testing shit. Trust me. But anyway, the point I was going to make is for the last fight with Thurman, Thurman agreed to no drug testing. Once he lost, then he started complaining, saying, "Oh, I should have insisted on random drug testing because Manny's gas tank." Look, I don't want to hear it, man. You basically did what I'm accusing Bivol of doing, which is selling your own. I mean, you fell in love with the amount of money you were going to get. You thought you could beat Manny without going through the proper stipulations. Because to me, there should be drug testing for all world title fights. That should be mandatory for me. He decided against it. He just thought, yeah, I'll fight him. The money's good. I'll beat Pacquiao. He's a legend. I'll have that legend on my resume. And it didn't work out for him. Now he's giving interviews saying he wished he'd have gone for drug testing and advising the Errol Spence stuff. So what are you trying to say then? You accusing Manny of being on drugs?
WM has put here, my favorite boxing duo. How you doing, Darren and Laurie? Hope you're both well. Hey, good to have you here, WM, man. You caught us at the end of the show. But good to have you here, brother. Big up.
Spread the word, man. We're trying to get Daryl over these 1,000 subscribers. Are we there yet? Where are we?
We're not there yet. Well, I think we're at 833 now.
Come on, man. Share this video, man. Get your friends and family and likewise people to subscribe. You know it makes sense, man. What are we doing here? Come on.
Hit the like button, guys. Hit the like button, man. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel.
Maybe you want to get Gareth Ray Davis on your show, you know what I mean? The Muhammad Ali of sports broadcasting. Get him on your show, and as long as you give me the night off for that one, I'll come back the week after because I don't want to share a platform with that clown. You know what I mean?
Listen, man, I think we're gonna have to end it on that note, man. Very, very good show today. I have to say, thoroughly enjoyed it as I do every week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. We're putting in work, man. We're putting in work. We're not quite there yet in terms of numbers, but we'll get there, man. Just got to keep on at it. You know what I mean?
James Kinsella said here, been watching the whole stream on my TV. Cheers, lads. Great podcast. Hey, love it, man.
Thanks, James. Listen, James, get the word out there, man. Get your people to subscribe. We want to get Daryl, my son, over this 1,000, this magical 1,000 number that's proving so far a bit elusive. But the quality is there. The content is there. The personalities are there. Come on, man. Like, share, subscribe. Send it to your friends. Send it to your people. Click the like button, man. Click the share button. Click that subscribe button.
Last question, and it goes out to you, Laurie, here. Francisco has said here, maybe you should clarify because you suggested that Thurman finding love made him lose interest in boxing. Are love and boxing not compatible?
Yeah, listen, man, I'm happy to clarify. What I'm saying is that Keith Thurman, it's noticeable, certainly in my eyes, is that he's not displaying the same hunger that he once did. That one time Thurman that we used to see, that oh, I'm not afraid to let it go, that all in your face, entertaining Thurman. I don't see that no more, man. You know what I mean? And he doesn't fight often. You would have thought after he didn't fight for, I think it was 18 months before the Pacquiao fight. He's not fought since the Pacquiao fight. That tells me that there's a guy there that's not hungry. Now, there are various reasons it could be for that. One of which is that he's done well financially at the game. So he's not as hungry to fight. Probably not going to want to get out of bed for, you know what I mean, under a certain amount. And then secondly, it's quite well documented. He met a girl on holiday, I think it was, in Asia somewhere or India somewhere, the Indian subcontinent. And listen, there's nothing wrong with falling in love, man. It's great. Go for it. But since he's met that girl, I think he's fought once. So that would seem to suggest, man, that, you know what I mean, his head is elsewhere. Now, listen, man, it's obviously up to him, isn't it? But I don't see a guy with that same hunger and passion for the sport that I saw when he was on the come up. Remember when he was at that press conference? We were Paulie. You better not dump me, son. Remember that? That was the Thurman that we all fell in love with, man. You know, where's that Where's that Thurman gone? You know what I mean? We don't see.
He ain't coming back.
Yeah, he's not calling man out and really bout it. He ain't like that no more. And it's a shame, man, because I really like Thurman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a larger than life character. He's very articulate, very intelligent, very well spoken. He was great for the game, but we're not seeing that no more. He's even cut his hair off.
Yeah. Yeah. She should have kept his hair, man.
Yeah, he actually looked better with a ponytail. But,
yeah. But listen, now we're gonna have to wrap it up, man. Conrad saying here, great show. DS has put here another great show. Harvey, great show as always. James has said here, I'll keep spreading the word. Your channel is criminally underrated. And listen, man, we'll keep going, man. We'll keep going for sure. Well, Laurie, you want to close it out? I know you've already said your piece, but big up to everybody in the chat, and I'll let Laurie have the last word.
Yeah, man, listen, man, thanks once again for inviting me on and allowing me to share my passion with all the viewers. Big up to everybody in boxing except Gareth A. Davis. And also like, share, subscribe. Let's share this video and let's get my boy over 1,000, man, because I declare an interest. He's my son, but the content deserves him to get over the line in that respect. So let's do this, man. Let's do it for real.
Big up everybody, man. That's us for another week. We'll be back next week. And enough love to everybody, man. Thank you all for joining consistently every week. And we'll catch up again soon, man. Peace out.